Joining us now, Elaine Parker. She is the Vice President and spokesperson of the Job Creators Network. Love the Job Creators Network. Best billboards, better than mine actually, best billboards in America in Times Square on AOC. You've seen them. They're great. She's also the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network Foundation, and she's kind of the head honcho there, and she's joining us now. And what timing, Elaine? What timing you have right now, Elaine Parker, Job Creators Network, because gross domestic product, GDP, just came in this quarter again, Elaine, get this, 3.2%, well above expectations. All the naysayers in the economy, all the Keynesians, all the never Trumpers, all the liberal economists, all the Harvard people, those that are the Federal Reserve chairman raising rates, all of them said the economy was going to slow, right? Every single one of them said, oh, the recession is coming. This can't last. And here we go. We get another 3.2% GDP increase. The economy growing now at an average of 3% clip. Unbelievable.
Hey, John, thanks for having me this morning. It is fantastic news, and it is the direct result of pro-job growth policies of cutting taxes, putting more money back in people's pockets, allowing small business to invest in their businesses and their employees and grow. It's cutting regulations, and that because of that, we're seeing more jobs available than people. We're seeing wages increase the fastest in a decade. Unemployment is the lowest in a half century. And for women and all minority groups across the spectrum, we're seeing record low unemployment rate for those groups too. And no matter how much the naysayers want to change the narrative and tell people that things aren't going well, things are going very well, and they continue to just get better.
This is unbelievable. I want to read, if I can, a little bit on why we got the 3.2%. May I? May I just touch on it?
Absolutely.
So Elaine, get what drove it. Here's the two things they say drove it. Higher U.S. exports. Why are we getting higher U.S. exports? Right? Because the president has put pressure on our trading partners that they had to step up to the table or he was going to increase tariffs. And so what do? We get an increase in exports. That's number one. Number two, here's what drove it. Now, I want everybody to grasp this. The tax cuts for small businesses. Why did that matter? Because inventory investment and capital equipment investment was at record numbers. I mean, this is not magic, Elaine. This is what you and I have been saying. How long have we been together on the air now? 2 years. This is what we've been saying, Elaine, for 2 years. You lower taxes on small businesses. You give them the ability to write equipment purchase off in 1 year, which the Trump tax cut did. And what happens? People start buying equipment, expanding their inventories, right? Which then creates manufacturing jobs. They have to make the stuff. They have to get truckers to truck it. All this is coming into fruition 1 year after the tax cut got enacted. Nobody thought this economy this quarter would grow at 3.2%, except us and the president.
Absolutely, John. It's amazing to hear all of this because that's what we've been talking about for 2 years. We just needed to have the right policies in place. And interestingly enough, Job Creators Network surveyed CPAs across the country who process taxes for small business pass-throughs. That's S corps, sole proprietorships, partnerships, and asked the 80% of those CPAs across the country. They represented 5,500 small businesses, and 80% of them said that small business benefited as a result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And 3 out of 4, 75% of them, said that the tax cuts directly stimulated the economy. Those are the guys who are actually, they know everything there is to know about taxes, much more than I do. But they're processing their clients they're seeing their clients do things like invest in their business, buy capital equipment. Two of the key provisions in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act directly helped small business, and that was a 20% tax deduction for small businesses on their income, which helps them shield a fifth of their income and reinvest it in their business. And the other game changer was that capital investment. Mm-hmm. So we've got small business owners in northern Illinois who bought $500,000 worth of equipment. By that, she was able to write it off the first year. Mm-hmm. She hired 3 employees to run that equipment. And because of the tax cuts, she was able to take on the full premium, 100% of the health insurance premium for her employees. Mm-hmm. So they pay nothing for their insurance. You don't find that these days because health insurance is so expensive.
It's insane. It really is. What the healthcare situation is with the Democrats calling for basically a hostile government takeover of our healthcare system and throwing 220 million Americans that are currently on private healthcare, throw them off and force them into a rationed system. I mean, nobody in their right mind would do this except, I guess, Bernie Sanders and Kirsten Gillibrand and Kamala Harris and the others calling for this. But this economy it's today has got to be a great day because nobody expected the economy to keep rolling along at 3.2%, 3% GDP except us, because we knew these tax cuts. Because look, Elaine, you and I run small businesses, right? We sign the front of paychecks. We know what it is to have to buy something, finance it. We know how taxes we have to pay. You have to pay a lot of taxes. You can't hire. You can't invest. You can't grow. You can't expand. And the fact of the matter is, this Trump tax cut is the fireball at the engine of this economy. Now we got all this tremendous growth, record jobs numbers that are like mind-boggling. Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, women, record jobs numbers, and we've got Democrats saying they don't believe in capitalism, and we got the front runner who's a socialist running for president. How do you figure this?
You know, it's amazing to me. You're talking about Bernie Sanders and the whole Medicare for all.
Yes, and he's going to be the nominee.
Those are great slogans, but they have no details in the program. What we know is that private health insurance will be outlawed. And when there's no details other than that, I mean, you're talking about taking over a fifth of our economy and trying to tell the American public that the government's going to be able to run it more efficiently than private industry. Well, we need only to look at examples like the DMV and the post office to see how efficiently the government runs things in our personal lives. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about our health care, that's very important. And one of the most important things, and we did a poll this week on our weekly Pulse, for Americans is that the highest rated priority for them is to keep their doctor. And under Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All, that's not going to happen.
Well, because they want to complete the only way they get control and can tell people what to do is by taking their existing health care away and rationing it to something else, turning it over to the government of which they control. It's no different than Maduro in Venezuela, who gets up every day and decides who's going to get what color box of food that day. It's the same thing. They want the takeover because then they're in control. Then everybody is dependent on government bureaucrats and elected officials to figure out their health care. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about power, votes, and control. And if they can get a handle on that, they feel they can be in power in perpetuity. That, and of course, letting felons in jail vote and opening up the borders and letting millions of people in and just making that legal or whatever it is that they're trying to do. You know, the economy is rated so good today. Rasmussen did a poll, Scott Rasmussen, and asked people about how they feel about the economy. This just came out. 13% excellent, 41% good. That's 54%. Poor, 14%. So it's 51% to 14% on how people feel about the economy. Isn't that a stunning statistic?
It is, and he does a great job every week for us on our weekly Pulse. But 79% of them, the number that came back that I think is great, and because it's so personal for everybody, 79% said that their own personal finances are getting better or about the same. So we continue to see people feel better and confident about the economy. And that's so important because it makes people feel comfortable spending and investing. And that's why we're seeing all these jobs being created. And that's why we're seeing, frankly, more jobs than people available to fill them. And that's really important.
Now, I want to talk about another topic. I had Second Lady Mrs. Karen Pence on my show the other day, and she talked about something, and then I saw an op-ed come out yesterday from Bernie Marcus on Breitbart, which I thought was excellent. And what Karen Pence and Bernie Marcus has said, same thing, is that there's only one sector of the economy, Elaine Parker, that has high unemployment. Do you know what do you know what that is?
Absolutely, it is military spouses.
Military spouses.
And it's heartbreaking.
Unemployment 25%, right? Male or female, you're a military spouse. You're moving around the country. You're serving your country, and you're deployed in different places. So you have to move, take your family, whatever. And so spouses of those deployed, active deployment, unemployment 25%. That's tragic. I mean, that is just heartbreaking and tragic. How do we fix that?
Well, it's an issue that's near and dear to Job Creators Network's heart, and it has to do with occupational licensing reciprocity. And so when you think about industries like being a dental hygienist or a hairdresser or a paralegal, all of those jobs require occupational licensing. And so when you're the spouse, a military spouse, and your spouse is being transferred every 1, 2, 3, 4 years to a new state for their job because they are serving our country, you are packing up and moving for your job as well. But the licensing laws from state to state require many times those people, those spouses, to start all over and begin the licensing process again. And what we're trying to help do through our governor's committee is to remove those barriers so that and get governors to pass legislation that removes the barriers and allows them to accept the licensing from one state to another for military spouses so that they can get to work right away and we can reduce that unemployment rate too.
In a practical matter, is this a legislative initiative? Is this a jawboning initiative in the various states? Now, I think because you have to go to the states, right, to get reciprocity for licenses. Like one of the things that Karen Pence was saying, Second Lady Pence, was that she gave a really good example. She said, you're a barber, your wife or husband is deployed, you have to move from Norfolk, Virginia to San Diego. You work at a barbershop. Your license is in Virginia. You go to San Diego. California, different set of rules, got to go through training, got to go through a license, got to pay money, weeks go by. Why not just have that barber's license be reciprocal? That's kind of an easy example that we can understand. Is that something that the Job Creators Network is in favor of seeing streamlined?
Absolutely, and we have a governor's committee of about 12 Republican governors, but frankly, this is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. We'd like to see all 50 states remove these variables and accept the licensing of all military spouses so that they can get to work right away because many of them are either underemployed or unemployed, and it's just not right. I recently was out in Arizona with Governor Ducey, who just signed actually licensing reciprocity for everybody, military spouses, as well as anybody coming to the state of Arizona, which is pretty incredible. Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin, he has also passed it. Iowa, Governor Reynolds is doing work there. Tennessee just passed it. North Dakota just passed it. So we are seeing our governor's committee move in that direction, but we need all governors to get on board with this. And we had a meeting in February in Washington with all of our governor's committee as well as the Secretary of Labor to discuss this issue because it is an important issue at the federal level and it does affect our national security when we've got military spouses who are unemployed and their spouses are focused on their wives or husbands who aren't working.
Well, I love the initiative that you're doing. This is a heavy lift because you have to work with so many state legislators to get this done. It's really a lot of this can't be done at the federal level. So you guys are taking on a big chunk here, but I love what you're doing because I don't see, when we sit on here on the air and we're so excited about the low unemployment rates for so many sectors of our society, and it's so heartwarming, record number of handicapped people being hired, Elaine. I mean, think about this. Record number of people with autism and other slight mental challenges being hired. A record number of former felons, which I think is a great thing in America, being hired. But then we look at spouses of deployed veterans, and it's at 25%. That just doesn't work for us. So I'm glad that you
Absolutely.
guys are. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
That
I couldn't agree more. We started a website called freedomtowork.com, and your listeners can go there, and it features a video of a woman named Michelle Hood. After her husband was actually transferred to Virginia, she's a dental hygienist. And after 17 years of working in the industry, she could not get a job as a dental hygienist because Virginia didn't accept her license. So we encourage everyone to go to our website, freedomtowork.com, take a look at that video, and share it on social media, because we need to get the word out for these military spouses that are unemployed, because they're not enjoying the economy as much as the rest of us.
Oh, you're so right about that. Go to freedomtowork.com. That's freedomtowork.com. And again, the economy growing today, 3.2%, just defying all odds. And one other thing I want to ask you about is the relevance of AOC in the Democratic Party is becoming even more stunning to us. I just had, who was it that we had on, Kara, just a few minutes ago, who was talking about this? It was Denver Riggleman, right? Congressman, freshman congressman from Virginia, and he was commenting about this whole socialism thing, and he was saying that when the more mature people in the Democratic caucus, like Steny Hoyer, say something reasonable, they get attacked on Twitter by AOC, who wants to go to socialist economy, and they fall in line. And he's like 75 and she's 29. I just want to get your comment on this. I mean, did you ever think you would get to a point in your life where a 29-year-old was dictating the agenda of the entire Democratic majority caucus?
It's amazing. I think we could refer to her as speaker next time. We refer to her as the gift that keeps on giving, because she has become the face of the Democratic Party. And as a result, we're seeing all of these candidates running for president just trying to out-left each other. And whatever she says, they seem to fall in line with whatever her policies are. I mean, they're all behind Medicare for All. They're behind the Green New Deal, even though none of them voted for it. They're behind removing the Electoral College. They are behind allowing felons who are serving time in prison, murderers and rapists and the Boston bomber, to vote in our elections. And it's amazing to me how they continue to just try to out-left each other. And whatever AOC says, it goes. So we think it's the gift that keeps on giving, because the American people are not going to fall for it, and that is not where they're at.
Elaine, AOC for Speaker. Go to AOCforspeaker.com. I think she should be the speaker. She's the de facto speaker. I mean, why not make it official? Why not make her the speaker? She should be the Speaker of the House of Representatives because she speaks for the party. So she should be the speaker, because whenever anybody else tries to defy any of her policies, she sends a tweet out and they cower and change their position. The Steny Hoyer example that I gave to Denver Riggleman, the congressman, about an hour ago, is just, you can't get better than this, right? Steny comes out, he's 78 years old. He's the majority leader of the House of Representatives in Congress. And he comes out and he says, well, this government takeover of health insurance, this isn't really a good idea. There's a lot of people on insurance, and, we really need to take a much slower approach to this. She tweets out, blasts him, and he changes his position the next day and says, well, I didn't really mean that. We do need universal care, and we do need Medicaid for all. I'm just saying that, maybe we should be sure we do it the right way. He changes his position in one day. Unbelievable.
It's amazing to me. It is. I mean, we even the state of Vermont had to abandon their single-payer system, and that's obviously Bernie Sanders' state. So because the costs were so incredible, and when you have a state like Vermont abandoning it, show us a state where something like that is successful before you impose it on the entire country, because it's not going to be successful.
Well, what was it? The Dutch Netherlands, right? Their entire economy is collapsing because of their universal healthcare system, and the costs are just out of control, and they have to find an alternative way because the country's going bankrupt over it. Care's getting rationed. Look, I did an op-ed the other day that I sent out on my email, my newsletter, and I mean, I was on an airplane with somebody who said their brother in England hurt his arm playing cricket, right? So he needs rotator cuff surgery. He's been in pain. You know how long he was waiting? He's still waiting 9 years. Simply, it isn't a priority.
Wow.
So the bureaucrats there simply don't think that, that's a priority. So he's in pain, and he's been waiting on a rotator cuff op list for 9 years. I just heard that on an airplane. Elaine Parker, speaking of airplanes, you've got to take off. You got to be out of here by 9. I really want to thank you for your time. Elaine Parker, she's a spokesperson, vice president for the Job Creators Network. Go to jobcreatorsnetwork.com. She's also the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network Foundation, and they have a new website. We're going to be talking a lot about this, freedomtowork.com, freedomtowork.com. Elaine, thanks for being with us.